Hello, this video we're going to talk about slash chords. So we're talking A over C sharp, D over F sharp, E over G sharp, B over D sharp, those sorts of chords. C over A, we'll look at some of those ones as well that are a little bit less common. So like all guitar chords, there's a bunch of different ways you can play these. Sometimes you can experiment around a little bit, find new ways, but I'm going to show you some basic shapes that you can use to cover these chords. So what you often hear people say is, oh, just play one side, play the left hand side. If you're a guitarist, play the right hand side. If you're the bass player, for bass players that's totally right, you play the right hand side, that's the low note. So I'm just going to explain the chords a little bit so we understand what's actually going on. So the way to read it is like A over C sharp. So think of it like a fraction, like 1 over 4. So the second note is the low note that goes on the bottom. So that's the one the bass is going to play. Okay, and then we've got a chord above that, which is the left hand side, the first part. So if we go with A over C sharp, so what that means is that I've got an A and a C sharp. So I want the C sharp to be lower than the A, and then I'm going to add another note in to make the A into a chord. So I'm just adding its third there. Cool, so that's a basic shape for A over C sharp, which then you can move around. So if I want B over D sharp, I just bring it up a tone. So the way to find them is to normally with these chords, what I do is I find the first note here. So let's say I want I'll do B over D sharp again. So there's my B. So I come up an octave, and then I play 1 and 3. Okay, so we should know those from our major scale patterns, which you can check out in my previous videos to learn what I'm talking about when I'm talking about numbers 1 and 3 and that sort of thing, and where those notes are. Cool, and then you just play the D sharp as the low note there. So what you'll find is that often it's leading up into the chord after it. So B over D sharp will often lead up to an E. Cool, so it's getting used to those changes. Electric guitar, that sort of thing, you're going to use them that way all the time. With acoustic, you can do some other things. I mean, you can do it on electric too, but it's just less common. So one example is D over F sharp. So a D chord there. Some people play it like this. So add the F sharp in there. Another way of doing it is you got to change your fingers around on the D shape. So use your pinky on the B string there. Third on the E, second on the G, and then that frees up your first finger to come and play the F sharp up the top there. Cool, and often that will lead up to a G, or vice versa, it'll run back down. Cool. So the other ones where it gets a little bit more tricky, because those ones, what's happening is the low note is the third of the chord. So if we come back to our B over D sharp, if I look at a B, D sharp is actually the third of B. So really all we're doing is we're changing the phrasing of it. Instead of playing the 1 as our low note, we're playing the 3 as the 1 note. Sorry, the 3 as the low note. Okay. Cool, so you'll hear keyboardists talk about chord inversions and that sort of thing. So It's just B in its first inversion, but we call it a B over D sharp. Cool. But some other ones you will come across, like I mentioned, C over A. C over A. That's another one that you'll see. So sometimes, if the chord's a bit different, you just need to find a way to play the chord and then play the low note. Yeah, I can't go through every chord that you'll come across, but another shape, so this is actually a 6 chord, but it's playing the 6 as a low note. So if I look at C, and there's my A, is actually my 6 in that scale. Okay, so what I do here is I've got a C, I'm going to bring that up an octave, then I'm going to play the 5th straight above it. So there's the C chord, and then I'm going to play my A, which is my 6, as a low note, and in between I'm just going to mute that A string. So that actually becomes a D over B. Cool, so they're funky little chords. You will come across sometimes those 6 chords like that. And there are others in various songs you'll come across weird ones that you've just got to find your way around. But now that you've got that understanding of that left-hand side, that first note you see, you need to play that chord. You only need a 1 and a 3 or a 1 and a 5. You don't need to play the full triad, just part of it. And then that second note on the right hand side is your low note that you're going to play underneath it. Cool, so hopefully this will help you work some stuff out, but just practice some of those shapes. And changing in between them. Cool.